Hey guys, welcome to the Punk Rock Condition, where we explore, discover, and appreciate all things punk rock. If that interests you, please subscribe. Here on this episode, we're doing something a little different. I just got back from being downtown in Philly and seeing Mark Hoppus do an interesting kind of one-off type of thing that he's doing right now. He put out a book called Fahrenheit 182, where he talks all about like the formation of Blink and some highs and lows and some tour stories and his battle with cancer and where Blink stands today. And it's all pretty interesting stuff if you're into Blink pretty deeply. So this video, where are my Blink fans at? I managed to get some footage of him sharing some stories that were really, really interesting and often pretty funny. So I'm just going to clip together some of the best stuff from the specific show that took place in Philadelphia. I think he's touring around right now. He's only got a couple more dates, and then this will have come and gone. Mark going on his little book tour. So for all my Blink-182 fans, saddle up, and I will put these stories together, just clips of the most interesting stuff. And I hope you enjoy it. So, yeah. An Evening with Mark Hoppus. Here we go.
In ways, I feel like I'm lucky to still be alive. So thank you for coming out this afternoon. I appreciate it. I want to start this show, or whatever the fuck it is, the same way that I started my book. When I first got my book deal, I went to my friend George's house in the mountains overlooking Ojai, California. And I set out to write the great American memoir. Everybody, all our friends, our family, I invited my mom, my stepdad, my dad, my stepmom, my in-laws. We did our sound check, and we were all hanging out backstage in the green room. And the green room with these places fucking suck. They're so bland, there's like fluorescent light above your head. The walls are actually like this pale, sick hospital green. There's always a table with like sweaty meats and cheeses laying out. And we're chilling back there, and one of the guests on the show that night was the workout guru, Richard Simmons. And all of a sudden, the door kicks open like that Big Bird meme, and it's Richard Simmons. Blink-182! And he runs over to Travis, big hug and a kiss. Runs over to Tom, big hug and kiss. Same with me. And I say, hey Richard, you look great. What do I have to do to look as good as you? And he says, oh, come on. I'm old enough to be your dad. And my dad is standing right behind him. And he said, I'm his dad. And Richard Simmons goes, Dad! That's the moment. He's not happy just because another man kissed him. That's the face of a proud father. So give it up for Richard Simmons. Rest in peace. Awesome record collection. I could listen to whatever I wanted. And they had great pop artists. They had Paul Simon and Garfunkel. They had the Beatles. They had Stevie Wonder and Donna Summer and the Bee Gees and all kinds of great music. But they also loved comedy. So I would listen to their records like Richard Pryor or Bill Cosby or my personal favorite, George Carlin.
Cursing, cussing, swearing, and all I could think of was shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
Give it up for another legend. George Carlin. The famous 7 words you can't say on TV. When did you have that bit memorized?
I had that memorized by 9 years old.
Yeah, that tracks totally.
Yeah.
But growing up in a military base, it's like being a military brat. Sometimes hard to make friends. Did you have a lot of friends growing up?
I had a very small group of friends that actually stuck around. Most of my friends would be there for a year, and then their parents would get transferred out to another base, and so they disappear. So I grew up mostly feeling alone. I And me and my friends weren't the cool kids in school. We were the outcasts, we didn't play sports. And then when I was in junior high, someone showed up at lunch with an issue of Thrasher magazine. And that changed our world, because here we were looking at people that were doing amazing tricks on a skateboard, but it was more than just a sport. It was a lifestyle. It was all the outsiders brought into one community. And I finally felt cool, and I finally felt like I belonged. After 9th grade, the summer after 9th grade, I was hanging out with my friend Wendy, and she brought over a cassette, and she said, I think you're gonna like this band. And we put the cassette in and pushed play and heard this.
The Cure. You know who loves The Cure? Matt Trey Parker. Love The Cure.
And I loved it. The message, the lyrics, how catchy it was, but it was dark and weird, and it spoke to isolation and being an outsider, and I loved it. And I loved what the bass guitar did in this song. I watched this video over and over again, and Simon Gallup, the bassist, just looked so cool, and I loved the way that the bass guitar glued the whole thing together. The bass guitar is the bridge between the rhythm of the drums and the melody of the guitars and the vocal. And I'm like, I gotta have a bass guitar. And I begged my dad, begged him to buy me a bass guitar. And he did. The only way that I was able to get a bass guitar, though, is he said, you have to paint my girlfriend's house. And so in the sweltering heat of the Washington, D.C. summer, I painted the house, and I got my bass guitar, and I started practicing in my room. The Cure, for me personally, was such a huge influence on my life. And we put the cassette in, and I heard this. Descendants. And the Descendants were so rad. All the punk rock that I'd heard before then was really political. Fuck Ronald Reagan, and fuck Margaret Thatcher, and bring down the government. I didn't care. And here was the Descendants, and they were catchy and fast. They sounded like the Beach Boys on cocaine. And they were singing about food and girlfriend and parents and school, and that was my shit. So I got into the Descendants, and then I got into Bad Religion, and Bad Religion led to Fugazi, and Fugazi led to all these great punk rock bands. And then I was just in my room, playing my bass, learning how to play bass guitar to punk rock songs. Hell yeah! Yeah, hell yeah, that's right.
And remind me the name of your first punk band?
My first band was called Of All Things. That's what we looked like. We were fucking rad. Drove across town to this suburban neighborhood where all the houses looked the same. And I knocked on the front door, and this sumbitch answers. He says, hi, I'm Tom. Come on back to my bedroom. His bedroom was in the garage, because his parents were fighting so badly, he had to get out of his room and find some escape. And his bedroom was the garage, and it was like every other garage. Washer and dryer, boxes full of old clothes and Christmas lights, then a bed, a nightstand, and a guitar and amplifier. We start talking, and Tom and I immediately fall deeply, madly, sexually in love with him. We're finishing each other's jokes and sentences, and after a little bit, Tom says, hey, we should write some original songs. Do you have any ideas for music? And so I played him something I've been fucking with. It was this. We should just let the whole fucking song play. 30 minutes, and I'll just stand here. No. So I played him that, and his face lit up, and he was like, holy shit, that works perfectly with this thing that I've been working on. And he gets on his guitar and starts playing this chord progression that is exactly the same. It's even in the same key. Literally, days before Tom and I met one another, we wrote the same song. And that's how I met Tom Delonge. You guys wanna know? Roll 'em.
I knew this.
Damn it, son of a bitch.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I was thinking of writing a song called Dammit, Son of a Bitch. Kind of goes like this, like, Dammit, son of a bitch. Dammit, son of a bitch. Son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch. Dammit.
That's pretty cool.
But it was too long to write that on a sentence, so we just called it Dammit. I don't remember the day that I met Travis. I'd heard of Travis before I met him. Travis used to play in a band called Feeble. There was a punk rock band that he had with some high school friends. And then when Feeble was done, Travis joined a band called the Aquabats. And the Aquabats were a ska punk band from Riverside, so they were Southern California, and we started playing shows kind of around the same circuit. I really became friends with Travis on this fucking miserable tour called the Snowcore Tour. It was Primus, Blink-182, and the Aquabats. And the reason it was so miserable was because it was Snowcore, and it was a tour that went around to different mountains in the wintertime that were holding snowboarding competitions. So it was always cold, it was always slushy and gray. About an hour. We walked on stage and started playing, and it felt rad. It felt right, it felt different and cool. And Tom and I looked at each other like, this is something special. So then, when it came time to get a new drummer, when our drummer left, Travis was the first person we called. And I drove up to Riverside, and I picked him up at a house. He was working as a trash man in Orange County at the time.
Trash person, I think, is the politically correct.
Trash person makes it sound like he's the trash. He was collecting trash professionally in Orange County. And we went to go see the Voodoo Glow Skulls.
Yes.
And during the show, Travis and I were sitting on the floor by the merch tent, and I said, hey, do you want to join Blink full time? And he said, yeah, I can do that. And that's when Travis joined Blink. And that moment is when Blink really leveled up musically. Tom and I were always arguing with one another in punk rock, going back and forth, trying to figure out who could write the better punk rock song. Travis loves punk rock and grew up in that community, but he also loves heavy metal, and he loves rap, and he grew up playing in jazz bands and in drumline. So when Travis joined Blink, he brought this musical knowledge and breadth that Tom and I hadn't even started with yet. I'll give you a perfect example of how Travis changed Blink's sound. Tom was writing this really cool pop punk song, and we showed it to Travis, and he goes, oh, I have an idea to change up the beat a little bit before the chorus. And so this is what happened. So we would be writing a pop punk song, and Travis would hit us from the side like a semi-truck and add in a Latin beat or like rap hi-hats or something totally different. And Tom and I had to become better songwriters to keep up with what Travis was doing. To do a big photo shoot with our new member. So they rented a photo studio in downtown San Diego at this warehouse, hired a big name photographer, lighting crews, catering, the whole thing. We're there, the photographer comes in and he has a suitcase and he says, I brought some stuff you might want to mess with, and he lays it down and we open it up and it's like the briefcase from Pulp Fiction. Gold light comes out of it. It's filled with the most ridiculous shit you could ever think of. Speedos and tighty-whitey underwear and costumes. And Tom and I are like, oh fuck yeah. We're wrestling for the shit. And Travis is off to the side like, the fuck is wrong with you guys? Look at how bummed Travis is in his first photo shoot with Blink-182.
Could not be further back.
1995, Blink-182 go on our first tour ever. We're in a van, we're playing with 7 Seconds. It's for the Taylor Steele fucking Good Times tour. It's awesome. We're going nuts, sleeping on people's floors, living the life. Halloween night, we're in Jacksonville, Florida. We play our show, it's great. Tom walks off stage, goes to the van to get something, sees a hot chick outside the venue, turns around to go get some beers to try and pick her up, grabs 2 beers, walks outside, and the second that he sets his foot on the pavement, a cop is right there and he goes, you're going to jail. puts Tom in handcuffs, puts him in the back of the cop car, and this is us laughing at him. That's our manager, Rick. That's me, and that's Tom wearing a Down by Law t-shirt as he's getting arrested for possession of alcohol. The great part about this is all of us, all three of us, we're dying laughing at this point. It's so funny. And then the cop car starts to pull away, and Tom's like, oh fuck, this is real? Oh no! And they haul his ass off to the police station, they book him, and me and Rick have to spend the night in Jacksonville prison trying to get his ass out of jail, bail him out the next morning, and keep going with the tours. Awesome, best day of my life.
Amazing. Thank you, Dee.
I don't know why people laugh at that.
Wasn't a good war.
Yeah. During the Iraq War, Tom became friends with someone from the Navy whose job it was to coordinate with musicians or actors or celebrities to go overseas and visit the troops. They asked us to go, and we said yes. So we left LA and we flew to Bahrain. What are you talking about?
Why are you laughing?
We look tough as shit. What are you talking about?
They definitely
We are America's first line of defense. So we flew to Bahrain to a Navy base there that was home to a nuclear submarine fleet. And we got to climb around the submarines. I climbed in a fucking torpedo tube of a nuclear submarine. And that night we performed for the sailors and their families. Then the next day we got up in Bahrain and we got on a C-130 transport and we flew to Kuwait City. And as the plane is coming down to land in Kuwait City, we're about 5 minutes from landing, and the alarms start going off in the plane, and people start yelling at one another, what do you got, what do you got? And these alarms are going off, I don't see it, what do you, fire, all this shit. We're in the back, what the hell's happening? The pilot pushes the yoke forward into a really steep dive for about 15 seconds. Then everything calms down. I guess we're clear, clear, I got nothing, clear. They go, what the fuck was that? Oh, they just locked on us. We had a laser sight put on us. They do that sometimes just to fuck with us. Last week, they actually fired, but we didn't get hit, so I guess everything's okay. That was their daily reality, flying into this thing and getting locked on. And it was right then that I realized, this isn't fucking fun and games like those three guys in the flight suit shit. This is real life. We landed in Kuwait City at a military base where in the previous Gulf War, our smart missiles had taken out the Iraqi planes in these hangars, and that's a destroyed hangar from the previous war. We get in there, they put us in Toyota 4Runners, and we haul ass 70 miles an hour across the desert to a Marine base on the border of Iraq and Kuwait. And we meet the soldiers there, we meet the Marines, we sign autographs, we have lunch with them, and then we skedaddle the fuck out of there back to Bahrain. And the next day, we get up and we get on a helicopter and we fly out to the middle of the Persian Gulf and land on the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier. They give us a tour of the entire ship, we have dinner with the crew, and then we performed for the entire crew on the ship in the aircraft hangar of the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf at war. And it was fucking awesome to perform for these men and women who are out there doing their best to get the job done and do it right. They had no say whether or not they were there, but they were going to do the best job possible. This is one of the biggest honors of my life. So that is a great show. I would say that's one of the strengths. The Reading Festival, for those of you that don't know, is a gigantic alternative music festival held in the English countryside. It's been going on for decades. I remember watching MTV back in early college, late high school, and they were interviewing Nirvana backstage at the Reading Festival, hanging out with Sonic Youth and Dinosaur Jr. And Blink was asked to headline the final slot Sunday night. Big, huge honor. But at that time, you could kind of sense the seeds of Tom quitting the band a second time. We got to the venue, he kind of hid out in his dressing room. He came out on stage just before we were about to perform. And I'm up there, Tom comes up and puts his arm around me and he says, I'm so drunk, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to play this show. And Travis and I were fucking pissed. Are you kidding me? There's 100,000 people out there who've waited all weekend in the rain and the cold and the mud to watch our band play, and you're gonna put this all at risk? Good news, Tom didn't play like shit. He was a little bit sloppy, but the show ruled. We were firing as a band. The audience was great. One of our better performances, I think. So we walk off stage and we're about to go on for the big encore. And for this tour, Tom had a really cool idea. He's like, we walk off stage, the stage goes dark, and then for the encore, the beginning of violence starts. And then I come up, and there's one spotlight just on me. And Tom had this pedal board that's called a Taurus. It was basically the foot section from an organ. And he would come up and he'd hit one note, and he would have this filter section here, we go, and he had this cool Radiohead moment. And then Travis would come out and he would start the drums and we would fucking slay the encore. So the time comes, lights go out, violence starts, Tom walks out on stage, it's time for Travis to walk out and play the drums, and he looks at me and he goes, fuck that guy. I'm not going out there. I'm like, oh cool, yeah, fuck that guy. We left his ass out there in front of 100,000 people for 2 minutes.
So Skiba, obviously he played such a crucial role in the history of Blink, filled in at a time when you needed him. I'm always curious, who was the number 2 on that list of
There was no number 2 on that list. It was only Matt. When Tom quit the second time, we had shows booked. And one of the shows Travis was a promoter on. It was a festival called Muse Inc. It was music and tattoos and hot rod cars. And we had known Matt since 1999. The thing is, literally, maybe even the same night that we fucked with Rick and threw trash at him, Jerry Finn had demos of Alkaline Trios From Here to Infirmary that he played us because he was about to mix that album. And we were so blown away by Alkaline Trio that even Tom credits listening to those demos as the inspiration for him lyrically upping his game for Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. So Jerry introduced us, we became friends. We took Alkaline Trio out on the Dollar Bill tour on the Untitled record, and we became friends. And Matt and I had been circling one another musically for a number of years. He wanted to play a project together with me and him called Serial Killers, which was punk rock music for little kids.
And that's cereal, C-E-R-E-X. No,
yeah, cereal, like the breakfast
you know how
food.
the breakfast cereal spelled. We don't need to spell it.
It never came to fruition, which is probably a good thing, because I can't think of the fucked up shit that Matt Skiba would write punk rock for little kids. But then when Tom was out of the band, we called Matt, he came in, the shows were awesome, we gelled, and we were like, we gotta get in a studio with Matt. Every single word that Matt sings sounds like it's coming from the bottom of his soul, and he is the most kindest, most amazing human being to be friends with. And we did great stuff with Matt. We got our first Grammy nomination with Matt in the band. We had a #1 record with Matt in the band, and he was with us for years and years, 2 albums.
And those are hard shoes to fill.
They are hard shoes to fill. Hey, come in and replace Tom Delonge in his own band. Be like Tom, but not too much. Do your own thing. But not so much as your own thing that it doesn't sound like Blink anymore. You'll figure it out.
You got this.
You got this.
Yeah. For all of Matt's wonderful qualities, there is something I've heard about Matt that maybe you can confirm or deny, which is that he is just sucks to travel with. Is that right?
It sucks to travel with Matt. Let me set the stage for you. When we recorded California, the label sent me and Matt overseas to do a press run. So we were supposed to start, leave LA, go to the UK. We're at LAX, it's me and our tour manager, and we're waiting on Matt. And Matt's half an hour late. He shows up, walks in, and does this. I gotta take a shower. And disappears and goes to the first class lounge and takes a shower. Comes back out, we're like, dude, we're late, can we go? He's like, yeah, let's go. So we go to TSA. And he goes to the bin and he takes off one ring and another ring and a necklace and fucking some weird ass Nazi memorabilia that you're like, why the fuck do you even have that? Some coins and some trash, whatever, tries to go through the door again. No, buzzer goes off, goes back, another ring. Then we get through security and his bag gets pulled aside and the TSA agent looks at Matt and pulls out a giant bottle, a salon-sized bottle of shampoo. 64 ounces. We're gone for like 7 days. Who the fuck needs that much shampoo? But we get through security, we're still late, but Matt's like, I need to stop at the gift shop. And he gets what he always does. He gets a giant bottle of water, a stack of magazines, and a neck pillow. We get on the plane just as the door's closing, and Matt does what he always does, sits down, the plane takes off, he puts on his neck pillow, and he falls fast asleep. And the water bottle rolls off his lap down the aisle. The magazines slide off his lap on all the other seats, never to be seen again. And he starts snoring so fucking loud that I think it's a joke. And in fact, several hours into the trip, people 7 rows in front of us are trying to sleep and they stand up like this. Who the fuck's ass am I gonna kick tonight? Why am I going to jail when we get to London? It got so bad that I would tell our tour manager, just tell Matt that my tickets got fucked up and sit me on the other side of the plane so that I could be one of the people like, yeah, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? Let's get him.
Yeah, you want to be in on the mob.
In the middle of the desert with 12,000 people. My band plays shows larger than that town almost every single time we play a show. I've never been blessed like that. Nobody gets to do that shit. I have an incredible wife, a great son. I have a pool in my backyard that's shaped like a dick. And now the bill would come due. Like, of course you're gonna get sick. You've been lucky for so long. Haven't you seen any movies? When the good shit happens, the other shoe's gonna fall.
Yeah, okay, that's a dark way of looking at it for sure. But then, so you were doing this in private for like a few sessions, I think. And then you like famously fucked up on Instagram.
Yeah, that was me. So my treatment plan was I had to get infused with chemotherapy drugs every 3 weeks for 6 times. And so the first and second time, I posted something to my close friends and family, who are the only people that I had told that I was sick. Something like, you know, I'd be hooked up to the cables and or the fucking IV and say, party of one, or let's do this, or let's kick cancer's ass. So the third time, I posted this, and I put that on my friends and family, and the doctor gave me a giant dose of Benadryl, which is how they start the infusion, and I fell asleep from that. And about 5 minutes later, I look at my phone, and it's my friend April, and she said, do you know that did you mean to post that on Maine? And I knew what she meant. But I was so drugged up that I just deleted it, and was like, oh, that'll be fine. Nobody's gonna notice that. But people did notice, and throughout the whole day, my phone kept blowing up, and I'd fall asleep, and they'd pump me full of more drugs, and I'd wake up, and like people were asking what was going on. At the end of the day, my wife loads me into the car. I'm just filled with poison at this point. I'm dying. So we're driving home, and our publicist calls, and she says, hey, radio stations are starting to talk about this. You have to make a statement. You need to. So we pull over to the side of the road, and I get on my phone, and I text this to my good friend Lisa Warden, who is a program director at one of the biggest alternative rock stations in the world, and has been a Blink supporter since the mid-90s. She's one of the reasons that Blink's even a band today. So I text her this, and as we're sitting on the side of the road, she walks into the control room of the radio station, gets on the microphone, and reads this out to the world. So I'm on the side of the road, feeling like shit, hearing these words read back to me over the radio station. And I felt like Tom Sawyer hiding in the rafters of the church, watching his own funeral happen. And it felt like the end. I'm like, this is it. This is the end of my life. This is gonna take me.
But then it went public, and people found out about it, and the response was the exact opposite of what you feared. Like, it was overwhelmingly supportive and positive.
The amount of love and support that people, friends, casual acquaintances, old friends, people I hadn't talked to in years were calling me up, people I thought that I'd lost friendships with, sending love. People would send me Tibetan sound bath bowls and Japanese talisman and healing crystals and slippers and beanies and robes and lozenges. There were people, fellow cancer survivors, who put together a video of them seeing all the small things, and they sent it to me. And that really changed my perspective on the chemotherapy and my cancer and my chances of survival, because with all that love and the thought that people were gonna laugh at me instead of embracing me, I was like, you know, this might take me, but I'm gonna go down fucking swinging like that Fall Out Boy song.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we have this huge opportunity again on the California record. We're going to a radio station. Perfect opportunity, morning drive time radio, to present our new super banger, super cranker song, Bored to Death, with our new guitarist and the new lineup, and we're stoked. Yeah, that's how I felt. But on the way to the studio, the phone rings and it's our manager saying, hey, these are the terms that Tom is asking for to quit the band. And I'm fucking furious. Fuck Tom DeLonge. He quit the band once. He quit the band twice. He isn't getting shit. I fucking hate that guy. Tell him absolutely not. And this was the vibe when we presented our big new song. And I'm seething at that day. But that was in 2016. In 2021, Tom and I were really fake friends. I mean, like the fakest friends possible. Texting each other maybe once or twice a year. Hey man, happy Thanksgiving, hope you and the family are great. Hey man, Merry Christmas, hope you and the family are... You can watch the years pass by these texts. And then, right before I started chemotherapy, I was sitting outside and I got a text on my phone and I look at it. And it's from Tom, and he's shooting a music video. And he says this. And I reply, probably not the response he was expecting after not having spoken in forever, but my phone rang and it's Tom. And I say, hello, and Tom goes, how are you? And I said, I'm really scared. And he said, I know. You're gonna get through this. He said, the universe is telling you something. It's teaching you a lesson. Listen to what it's saying. And he said, I'm gonna help you get through this. And he did. Literally, instantly, Tom became my best friend again. Every single day that I was sick, he texted me encouragement, or a joke, or a picture of some dude's dick that he found on the internet that he thought was funny. And there were days that I didn't want it at all. I'm like, Tom, I don't want your positivity. I just want to wallow. I want to feel sorry for myself. Just let me fucking cry.
Yeah, let me wallow.
Yeah.
So how did you guys go from talking just as friends again to talking about Blink?
Right before I started chemotherapy, Tom and Travis came over to my house. We sat in our living room and we just talked as friends. It was the first time we'd been in the same room in years. And we didn't talk about Blink at all. It was just friendship. It was, how are you? What's going on in your life? How's your family? What's up? Talked about my treatment. Talked about getting me through the treatment. And then once I was in remission, in January of 2022, the three of us met and had breakfast together and talked about the elephant in the room, which is always what's gonna happen with Blink. And the three of us decided, like, here's the rules. Blink-182 is just the three of us. Travis, Mark, and Tom. Nobody else. Blink-182 is the three of us, always. We're only going to do, from here on out, the things that we want to do. We're going to record the music we want. We're going to write the music that we want. We're going to play only the concerts that we want to play. That's it. We made a promise to one another that we were going to stick with this band, and it felt like old times. It felt like when Enema of the State came out, and we were laughing as we would walk on stage and play these shows and see our videos on stage. There was a unity of purpose once again that hadn't been there. And Tom is there, and we walk out and we perform at Coachella in front of 100 and something plus thousand people, and it's one of the best shows I can ever remember playing. It felt like old times, and we're like, this is what it's supposed to be.